Hello, and welcome to the grand finale, maybe, of our ongoing Going Medieval series. Now that we've almost finished the research tree and set up our front defenses, we need to finish turning this little village into a veritable stronghold to withstand survival mode's brutal late-game raids without resorting to cheap tricks to manipulate the enemy AI. First, though, we have to repair the damage that last raid did. Those trebuchets did an absolute number on us. Though our tree farm looks good, we're gonna add another row of birch trees over here. We're actually really close to running out of sticks, and wood will eventually be the basis for a lot of our later buildings. Some more housing goes in, so our colonists don't have to keep sharing that bunk room. Everyone's getting their own room, though it might not all be the same size. I start to put in a clay wall here to mark the territory we'll eventually be walling off, but quickly realize that all of our external walls should be made out of limestone bricks. I'll also move the brewery out of our cellar so that the heat from it doesn't spoil anything like it did late last autumn. The first part of our massive external wall goes up. I've got some pretty big ideas in mind, and it's going to take up a ton of resources, but it'll all be worth it in the end. So, you know how I just planted more trees? Our old farm's first harvest came out, and it's so much wood. We don't really need more. Oh well. We'll also get to work on properly building out our Great Hall. The first furniture goes in, and we start building up so that we can make it the tallest building we have. The first raid of the episode hits, but there's going to be a ton more. Survival really starts to ramp up the frequency. Though we don't yet have all the crossbows we'd want, our archers are still able to decimate them. With the raid defeated, we can work on our private bedrooms and the Great Hall. We also get some more work done on the external wall on the south side. Raiders are back, and their groups are getting bigger and scarier. About half of our archers are equipped with light crossbows, which do help, but it's not enough to stop them from absolutely swarming Joanna and Walter. Fortunately, Joanna made some absolute top-tier armor for them, and it holds up really well. Really, really well. What a badass. Surrounded by 4 enemies, and she holds our ground while our archers shoot them all in the back. Her armor is picking up a lot of damage, so she will need to make herself a new one, but for now, it'll do the job. Ironically, even after that brutal raid, a heat wave is absolutely decimating us. I really underestimated its effect and let people stay out, and it put almost every last one of them unconscious. Which is kind of weird, it's not even that hot out. Eventually though, it passes, and we continue putting more houses in. With the wall locking this section off, we can start building stairs down to a valley that used to be unsafe, and turn it into good housing now. The game's starting to recognize our prowess. We've amassed enough wealth, and a big enough pile of enemy corpses to be the most influential town in our region. Does that mean we're the kings and queens of everything? Huh. Well, either way, there's always more work to do. The eastern wall goes in, and the southeast defenses get retooled. You know, we should probably have some churches and stuff like that. We're really well known for murder, which, I mean, it's fine if it's self-defense. Plus, you know, this is medieval England. We're okay. But we should really try to have something that's a little bit pious, too. The faithful sons of England attack us. Maybe we are close to royalty, and these guys are all just loyalists. Either way, though, all of our archers have crossbows. Though, wow, the enemy comes charging in, and we miss a lot of shots. This is gonna get hairy. Joanna gets surrounded again, and she actually gets knocked out this time. I think this is the first time she's ever been put down. Fortunately though, they don't finish her, and our archers eventually don't show them that mercy. In the wake of that attack, we completely ignore our defenses, and instead focus on putting up churches. We also up our research storage game, and start making ice to last us through next summer. More work goes down on the south wall, which includes starting to put the flooring in around the edges. This is going to let our archers follow enemies around as they run around our base on the approach. Everything's coming together really nicely, though anything that's coming together this well does need to be put to the test. More trebuchets arrive. We don't have a chance to get out there and interrupt them, so instead we'll get to the walls and hope to put down the enemy before those siege weapons can do too much damage. Our Legion of Archers do an absolutely amazing job. The enemy has to run a really awkward route, and they don't even get close to our walls before we pick them all off. Almost immediately afterwards, a new kind of attack arrives, a legion of wolves. These ravenous animals are enough to make me get everyone to the gates, but they back off after a little bit. I decide to give Maboda and Bede some target practice on the wolves that get a little too close. They pick a few off, one by one, and everything looks good until Lee decides that he wants to haul one of the corpses back. He gets close enough that start of the pack starts to attack. The horde approaches, so I pull all nearby villagers in, micro the archers, and have them put the horde down. Winter continues on as we nearly finish the outer wall. Some stairs go in to give us better access, and we begin throwing out a plethora of merloins. It's going to take a lot of work over the latter half of winter, but we do make good progress. We have so much honey. I hope our colonists really like Honey Crisps, because that's basically all they're eating. And speaking of things they like, if you're still this far, I bet you're liking this video. Dropping me one would be a huge help. Some detailing on them, and our outer wall is totally finished. A few more Milans do need to go in, but that shouldn't stop us from handling every raid that comes our way. Really, only a little bit more detailing's left. Nothing's getting through us. Oh. I guess that's one of the downsides of slowing the camera rotation to make recording smoother and zooming in a little too much. Well, at least they're stuck in the low ground. We no longer have cover, but we have the numbers, and we still do manage to decimate their archers. The fighters that got into our base get taken out by some generic attack moving. With the Milans finished all around, we start putting in some towers. They won't be very useful, but they will look good. Each one's going to be a few stories, with stairs up, that let out onto the nearby walls, and tower over them to actually let our archers shoot down even further. And speaking of looking good, we'll go ahead and fence our crops off for the aesthetics, and start putting in another tower on the opposite side. Another raid comes, which means that we'll actually get to test out one of our towers. Really though, all it's doing right now is letting us stack twice as many archers on the near corner. The enemy sensed us, and a splatoon splits off to start running around our walls. Fortunately, the flooring there lets our archers follow them and continue attacking. They near our front gate, but a line of archers do eventually take them out. And with that, we can start putting the last tower in. A bit of detailing. Let's start working on some clay bricks. These are going to surround our town center and keep things clean so that our villagers can keep moving fast. Another raid goes through. How many is that? Wait, why am I asking? I can just go through the footage and count. 7. 7 raids, each with 15 to 20 kills. Our KDA is off the charts. Our wall continues to help out for this. We shift along it, peppering fire at the migrating enemy again. Or we try to. They're running a little bit too far. I think if I were going to really min-max this, I'd actually go out and make it so the only way in was to run around this pathway for a really long time to let our archers have all the time they need. But we're not going to go that far. Because the enemy ran in like this, they're stacked up really tight. I try pulling our melee fighters back a little bit further, but it's not enough, and eventually their melee fighters just run in and get on top of us. They actually go both ways and get the surround. This might have been a mistake. Joanna gets injured again. Very injured. She barely manages to survive on basically no help. Bede takes revenge by massacring the last straggler. Survival mode really doesn't pull its punches. It's only a couple days later, but another huge stack is here. We did pick up a third melee colonist, so at least we can form this triple surround that I wanted to do originally. It's enough to terrify Edward and he runs off. Our archers are likewise falling off. Without marksman skill of 15, none of them can really wield a heavy crossbow and pack that extra punch. Fortunately, the melee troops we have form a perfect meat grinder. Enemies have to come in one at a time, get surrounded, and get absolutely demolished. This is going to be even better once all of our melee fighters have the strength and capability of wielding strong two-handed weapons. While enemies are in the choke, the others are running around and our archers get to pick them off. With that fight done, the brick road gets finished. A few bits of our departed enemy's gear litters it all, but it still looks nice. That said, with our defenses fully in, and all of our building goals fully in place, I think there's just one last bit of detailing that I want to do. Take a close look, it might be a little bit hard to spot the difference. Perfect. Writing's really hard when your village gets this dense. Well, either way, let's start wrapping things up. I love how our stronghold looks, but there's not that much else that we want to add on. We're sustainable, our exterior defenses look great, and we've killed well over 100 enemies this episode alone. There's a little bit more detailing that I might look to do, but I don't think that would really be interesting to watch. What do you think?